that can be built up overnight. And as soon as it's broken, and it's quite hard to fix. So that's kind of how manage my relationships with my parent, and I hope that helps you guys a little bit. So here is a photo I found quite funny, because my next topic is about homework. And so in high school, you have quite a lot of homework that could be from in school, outside of school. Many of us I know take lessons outside of school, and that may be for your self-study AP exams, it might be for your SAT exams, your SSAT exams, or your SAT subject tests. So then you might be asking, how do I study for all of these things? The main things that I like to keep in mind when studying is to, first of all, know myself and know how I study. So for example, I am a visual learner, and so I prefer to see things, I prefer to do them, and so in learning what type of learner you are better able to kind of help yourself remember that information and recall it in test settings. Second of all is to stay organized, and that might be your notes from school, your textbooks, your stationaries, and that sort. So like more of the physically organizing your workspace and your materials. And so third is practice, which includes, like, for example, if you're doing math, the only way you can truly improve your math skills is to keep doing math over and over again. So my most important tip for studying is especially to practice the materials and the concepts that you will be tested on. And lastly is to correct your work. So in your practice sessions, you shouldn't just be blindly doing your work and just kind of putting it to the side, but you should rather be marking it, going over your mistakes and what you did right, and noting those mistakes so that in the future you won't make such mistakes again. And so that is kind of my experience with CYFA, with kind of studying in preparation for university, and kind of how I go about handling my relationships with my parents and with my fellow peers and the individuals around me. So if any of you have any questions, then now would be the time to ask. Sure.
First of all, that was a terrific presentation. I can't believe how well organized that was, and I wish my own kids were here. I have 3 teenage boys. They could have used some of your lessons. So my question to you is, how do you juggle all the different responsibilities that you have? Because you mentioned, your involvement in CYFA, your schoolwork, and we mustn't forget about your personal life, right? And then there's family life too, right? With your parents and relatives and so forth. So how do you do it all as a young person and still, have fun?
Something I definitely struggled with was procrastination, and I'm sure many of you have fought with procrastination at some point in your lives. But what I like to do to kind of manage my time effectively and be able to still handle all my responsibilities while maintaining a personal life and a life with my family and friends is what I like to do is schedule my time and keep this in an agenda. So for example, I have my agenda where I keep my schoolwork, my other responsibilities. For example, if I have an appointment or if I have work. So I have a part-time job in addition to school. And so I just keep track of those and I manage it that way. So I use apps, I use agendas, I use calendars, and so forth. Yeah, is that sort of?
I like the apps.
Yeah. Yeah, so iPhone has the Reminders app. You can always set yourself reminders. I particularly like the calendar app because you can set up one appointment, and the next time you go to set it up, it will pop up with all the same information. So if you have recurring appointments, say like you go to the eye doctor every month, or you have work every single weekend, then if you set it up once, you can set it to recur. And for me specifically, I like my homework app. you can use it across all platforms. I'm with Apple, so I have like the iPhone and the computer, and so if you download it across both platforms, you could sync your homework. So in class, you might be typing in your homework on your phone, but then when you go home to open your computer, it will show up there as well. Yeah, so it's really useful, and I definitely found that it helped me a lot, especially when I was trying to go paperless. Yeah. So, yeah. My ultimate goal, well, I'm going to graduate from high school this year, and I will be attending New York University for business. And so I plan to complete my studies there, potentially go on to do a master's or a PhD, depending on how I feel. And then I eventually want to be owning my own company and kind of working in the executive management of a large firm or nonprofit. Yeah. Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Oh, you have a question? Yeah? In managing stress, well, for managing stress, I think it's ideal to, first of all, schedule your studying time so that you're not studying for hours on end, but rather you study for maybe 30 or 40 minutes at a time, and give yourself 10 minutes to kind of unwind and relax. And for me personally, I do this by maybe watching YouTube videos. Sometimes I'll go out for an hour and do yoga or go work out. But yeah, I think it's really important to give yourself time to relax and not always push yourself to work so hard, because at the end of the day, if you burn out, you have to put so much more into kind of lifting yourself back up from that burnout than you would have if you had given yourself time to recuperate between study sessions. So yeah, that's how I manage my stress. Yes? I actually do. I would say my older siblings are my role models, because I have so many of them, so I can pick and choose. But more than that is that each one of them has so many achievements and abilities that I look up to and would like to emulate in myself. And so kind of having those role models with me as I was growing up, I feel like helped me to become like more skilled in certain areas than I would have been had I been a single child or even only had one sibling. So I think definitely my family is one of my biggest role models. Thank you so much for your attention, guys.
我们谢谢佳佳精彩的演讲。
那么我